Welcome to WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. This week we bring you a tale of Disney history in celebration of the January issue of WDW Magazine, which is our 100th issue. As that issue whisks around the world to eagerly waiting subscribers, we bring you this magical moment from issue 90 of WDW Magazine. More Than a Merry-Go-Round, 100 Years of the Prince Charming Regal Carousel by Jamie Catanach. Poised beneath the arch of Cinderella's castle, it's an iconic landmark, classic and yet an invention all its own, all at the same time. The Prince Charming Regal Carousel is a beloved centerpiece of Magic Kingdom and a must-visit for each and every Walt Disney World guest. But this ride offers more than a simple thrill and a laid-back view of Fantasyland. While riding this carousel, you're actually participating in a bit of history itself. Given that it is more than 100 years old, this stunning merry-go-round has quite a few secrets hidden among its fleet of handcrafted horses. Here's some insider info to consider next time you take one of these ponies for a spin. Amazingly, the story of Prince Charming Regal Carousel actually starts on the other end of the country, on a day when Walt Disney himself took his daughters to Griffith Park in Los Angeles. As his daughters laughed and spun on the park's small carousel, Walt sat on a park bench and waited, and started scheming. Why, he wondered, wasn't there a place where the parents could get in on the action too? He wanted to do more than sit on the sidelines. The idea of a larger, truly family-friendly gathering place is one of the first inspirations behind the creation of the Disney theme parks, and highlights exactly how important that carousel really is as part of the Walt Disney World experience. Today, iterations of this must-have attraction charm the grounds of Disneyland in Anaheim, as well as Tokyo Disneyland, Hong Kong Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, and Shanghai Disneyland. Every castle park has its own special merry-go-round. But in this issue we're going to focus on the one-of-a-kind carousel that graces Orlando's Walt Disney World, set like a gem in the heart of the Magic Kingdom. If you've been going to Disney World for decades, you've doubtlessly witnessed some sweeping changes happen. Over in Epcot, for example, the long-beloved Norwegian Maelstrom has been redesigned into a frosty Frozen-themed adventure. In the Magic Kingdom, Fantasyland itself has undergone major renovations over the past decade, including breaking new ground for Beast's Castle and Enchanted Tales with Belle. And although it too has weathered some design changes, the carousel that spins at the center of it all has remained basically the same for half a century. Originally constructed back in 1917 by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company, one of the oldest roller coaster builders in the world, the ride that is the Prince Charming Regal Carousel today was originally known as the Liberty, and carried its first passengers in Belle Isle near Detroit, Michigan. Disney purchased the carousel in 1967, and of course ensured it was as breathtaking and majestic as its position of honor in the park required. New horses were designed and handcrafted for the ride, 90 of them to be exact, with no two alike on the entire 60-foot diameter of the attraction. For the finishing touch, designers included 18 hand-painted scenes from 1950's Cinderella, which you can still see today adorning the carousel's canopy. Replete with its stunning herd of horses and bedazzled with real 23-karat leaf gold, silver, and bronze decorations, the carousel first opened to park visitors in 1971, then under the name of Cinderella's Golden Carousel. And yes, Disney insisted on that extra R, which is simply the French spelling of the word carousel. If you're wondering what took so long between the acquisition of the ride and the cutting of the ribbon, well, intricate decorations were only part of the delay. After the carousel was first assembled, Roy Disney, Walt's older brother, stood staring at that view we've come to know and love so well. The carousel picturesquely posed through the arch of Cinderella's castle. It looked beautiful, regal, imposing, and unfortunately just a touch off-center. The whole thing had to be moved 8 inches to square up, which the crew painstakingly did piece by piece. That's how committed the Disney team is to perfection. So how has this fabulous carousel changed over its many years in the park? What have its stolid horses seen, and what other fascinating secrets does it keep? Well, for one thing, that commitment to perfection means having a backup plan, and WDW Magazine's own managing editor, Rain Blanken, has some insights in how the park prepares for carousel upgrades and emergencies. During a Marceline to Magic Kingdom tour in 2019, a guide led her backstage through a cast member door to a narrow access road between the Haunted Mansion and It's a Small World buildings. My guide was psyching me out for an incredible Haunted Mansion experience, but I couldn't stop looking at the wooden stable leaning unceremoniously against the adjacent wall, Blanken said. Here, just steps away from the guests, were half a dozen of Prince Charming's horses, most covered in clouded plastic, a couple gleaming brilliantly in the sun. I was startled. It was like I'd spotted a celebrity at a deli. Turns out that these guys are waiting in the wings should they need to be called to fill in for the first string on stage. I'll never forget the surreal nature of seeing these dazzling understudies humbly waiting their turn in this nondescript backstreet. And how about the attraction's name change? Well, as a part of the new Fantasyland expansion that occurred between 2007 and 2012, the Carrousel notably changed hands from Cinderella to Prince Charming, a move that came with some updated backstory for the ride. Rather than simply decorating the park, the Prince Charming Regal Carousel is now meant to be a training center for jousting, a hobby that the prince himself took up after he and Cinderella said, "I do." What's more, you may have heard the rumor that one special horse was meant to be Cinderella's, a steed on the second rank with a unique golden bow on her tail. This horse, lovingly known as Cindy by some, is the only one in the entire carousel with such a decoration. But according to Isle Voigt and John Hench, two Disney employees who have worked on the carousel themselves, the theory that Cindy is Cinderella's horse doesn't hold much water. For one thing, her position in the inner rows doesn't make much sense. If Cinderella were to be out riding, she'd certainly have a position of honor on the outer ring, where everyone could watch her pass by in her majesty. And golden bow aside, Cindy isn't particularly well decorated, as we'd assume Cinderella's horse would be. Plus, we have no evidence that Cinderella has ever ridden a horse, at least from the classic Disney movie. Given her humble beginnings, it's unlikely she would have had the training as a girl, though if her husband picked up a fancy new jousting hobby, we can only assume that adventurous and brave Cinderella would want a taste of the action. Regardless of the backstory you subscribe to, or which of its snowflake unique horses you choose, riding the Prince Charming Regal Carousel is a stunning experience. While you're aboard, take a look up at the castle. You can see the stained glass windows of Cinderella's suite and imagine the princess herself gazing down at you. If you haven't yet, we also highly recommend riding the attraction at night, when the carousel is lit up by 2,300 dazzling light bulbs. For a truly special treat, time your visit so you get to see the Happily Ever After fireworks spectacular from your spinning mount. With so many other exciting attractions in the Magic Kingdom and beyond, it can be easy to overlook this classic carousel, as impressive as it is. But hopefully, with the knowledge of the ride's historical context and the attention to detail that went into the making of even a trivial attraction, you'll find yourself inexorably drawn to the Prince Charming Regal Carousel on your next Disney World visit. And as Walt long wished, be delighted by the opportunity to experience magic and laughter together with the people you love most. You have been listening to WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. When you need more Walt Disney World in your life, WDW Magazine has you covered. Beautiful photography, entertaining articles, and stunning keepsake issues you will enjoy time and time again. Subscribe to WDW Magazine and escape with us every day. Use the code PODCAST at checkout and save $10 on an annual digital subscription to WDW Magazine. Visit wdw-magazine.com.